Hello, everybody. Today is Saturday, 6th June 2025, and it is the 187th session of Mindfulness for Beginners in English conducted by Nissarana Vanaya. I'd like to welcome Venerable Homagama Dhamma Kusala Thero for this session, and anyone who would be watching via Facebook live stream and joining us today via Zoom, and anyone who may be watching later as well. For today, we will start the session as usual with the in-session practice of mindfulness, which will then follow with today's talk on today's topic, which is prioritization. And then we will follow on to the questions and answers along with any reports that we have received from you today. So to begin today's session, I'd like to invite Bhante to start the mindfulness session.
Hello everyone. So we are here with another session today. To start today's program, we can do a sitting session. For this, you can sit in a comfortable manner. Turn on video if you feel like it. And then you can gently close your eyes. You are seated and you are comfortable in your posture. Notice whether you can feel the breathing. Natural breath going in and out in your body. Notice how the breath goes in. Notice how it comes out. Again, the breath goes in and it comes out. Our intention is to keep the attention with the breathing. And time to time, various other things grab our attention. Maybe thoughts, past memories, future planning, certain incidents, worries. These things come and grab our attention. And sometimes you feel sleepy, sometimes pain, irritation in your body. So you can see 1001 items come and they try to take the attention away. But what we are doing is we are prioritizing breathing among all these other objects. Thoughts try to distract us. Surrounding sounds try to grab our attention. Irritations, sleepiness, they try to grab our attention. But among all these things, we prioritize the breathing. Time after time, we return to the priority. We return to the breathing. Let's try to continue our practice for a few more minutes. Okay, everyone. Now you can open your eyes again. So that's about 15 minutes of mindful sitting, today's practice. This is just to give you an idea so you can practice on your own. When you practice, you can report your experience and get advice about the way forward. With that, Sonali, you can take over.
Thank you, Bhante. So next on the agenda is the talk on this week topic. The topic for this week is prioritization. We will be discussing it this week and next week. To start the talk on today's topic, I invite Bhante again.
Okay, so we have a new topic today, and this one is something important, some important message about our daily encounters. Now, let's say when we function, when we do certain things, usually we get distracted a lot. For example, let's say some of you might go to work, or some of you might study. And when you do these things, you go to the working place, you sit there, you spend time. But although you spend time, that time might not be productive. You are simply seated, probably distracted on your phone, probably talking to somebody, and very little work gets done. Same goes for the studying as well. Let's say a person studying for some exam or similar something. They spend time, they sit at their desk, they try to remember things, but maybe for some reason they don't get much done. That's probably because their mind is distracted and they can't keep their attention with whatever the thing that they need. Right? So you can see, although we go to work, sit there, although we study, those hours might not be productive. The main reason is the behavior of your mind. You don't know how to keep your attention. You don't know how to retain your attention. It's not easy, especially when it comes to school children. When we go to schools, especially in Sri Lanka, the teachers, they complain. They say that children are there in the classrooms, but their attention is not there. They are utterly distracted, probably due to certain periods that they had to go through. These children, the current children, they probably has gone through 3 catastrophes. Right, in Sri Lanka, certain COVID and probably East attacks, and finally the economy issues. So those children, they went through a lot, and due to that, they can't pay attention. They are there in the classroom, but they are utterly distracted. So these type of complaints come from teachers. Not only teachers, even ourselves. When we try to do something, we realize, although we spend time, it's not productive. We try to study, but we don't get much done. We go to work, spend hours, not get much done. Right? So this way, we can see that although we spend time, if our attention is not there, then the work is not productive. The lessons are not productive. What is the way to retain our attention? That's the issue. It's not easy to retain our attention. We go to a classroom, we sit there. Can we retain our attention with the lesson? We go to work, We sit there among 1001 distractions. Can we retain our attention with what needs to be done? It's not easy, right? So in a way, when we do mindful practice, we try to retain our attention with a certain object. For example, if we recall today's practice, during those 15 minutes, we try to prioritize breathing. We try to prioritize breathing over other things. 1001 objects come to your mind. Surrounding sounds are there. Various thoughts, future planning, they come. Certain irritations, sleepiness, right? Among all these things, we try to prioritize the breathing. And when you do it, it's not easy. Especially if you are a beginner, you might say that I couldn't be mindful. I couldn't notice my breathing. You say, this practice doesn't work for me. But actually, that's the very first experience. The very first experience is that you realize how distracted your mind is. When you start practicing mindfulness, the very first experience or the encounter is unmindfulness. Unmindfulness is habitual. It comes naturally. So when we start practicing, the very first encounter is the unmindfulness. And you complain. But we have to tell them time after time, okay, that's the starting point. Even in Satipasala, when we try to teach mindfulness, there's this video, probably even a couple of videos about unmindfulness. We go to a school, we show the children, okay, this is unmindfulness, do you know? And all of them are familiar with it. When they see the video, they can really laugh at themselves, remembering, okay, this happened to me. This is me. This is how I work. Right? So it is easily coming to them because they know it's habitual. So when we start mindfulness, it is natural that you feel that you are not mindful. It is natural that you encounter with unmindfulness, distractions. You come and complain, but we have to tell you, this is the very first step. This is the very first experience. Notice how much unmindfulness is there. Notice how distracted your mind is. That's the starting point. With that, we say, try to bring your attention to the breathing. Try to notice at least a single breath. If I ask this audience, I don't think there's a person who can't notice even a single breath. All of you can notice at least a single breath you can notice. Mindfully, you note it. You feel. At least for a breath, you can retain your attention. That is possible. Some time back, there was this person in a reflection report. He was saying that he couldn't notice more than 2 breath cycles. That was his complaint. And he was saying, my mind getting distracted. I can't do this. Only two breath cycles I can catch. So I told this person, okay, 2 is enough. That is enough. Try to do many rounds of 2 breaths. Right? Every 2 breaths you get distracted. You go that round, come back again to the breathing. Again notice 2 more breaths. Again gets distracted, go and come back again. Right? That way, we try to retain our attention with the breathing. So you start with a single breath and you try to increase it a little bit. you try to do more rounds of single breaths or 2 breaths, right? So that way, you try to retain your attention with the breathing. Same goes for the walking practices. When we do mindful walking, we bring our attention to the sensations at our feet. That sensation is already there. What we do is we try to bring our attention to it. And when we do, we can feel the feet touching the ground. Maybe for a couple of steps, you can retain your attention. And in the walking, you have your eyes open. So that's the main distraction. You hear the sounds, you get thoughts. But among all these 1001 things, we try to prioritize the sensations at our feet. The thing with these objects, whether it's the breathing or whether it's the sensations at your feet, these objects, they are neutral objects. When it is a neutral object, it is not easy to retain your attention there. Whatever positive, pleasurable, they easily grab our attention. Whatever negative, they easily grab our attention. Right? Either pleasure or pain easily catch our attention. Not only the pleasure, even the pain. That's why so many negative thoughts are there in our mind. We are the very people who are fueling those thoughts. Time after time, our attention naturally goes there. Right? So this way, either pleasurable, either painful, these items easily catch our attention. But if it is a neutral object, it's not easy to retain your attention there. So in meditation, the very idea is to select a neutral object. Neutral objects, it's not easy to retain your attention there. Let's say when you go to work, most of the time it is neutral. That's why you get utterly distracted. You try to read a textbook, most of the time it is so boring, neutral. Difficult to keep your attention there. Right? So that's how the mind works. I saw this video probably a few weeks ago. That video was about a child. He was seated in front of a computer, and for 10 minutes, a lecture was shown. And again, for another 10 minutes, a movie was shown. Right? So there's this comparison between these two. And you can see when the movie is there, the child is not even moving. He is so focused, concentrated on the screen. And when the lecture was there, he is looking here and there, checking his phone, rotating the chair. So everything he is doing when it is a lesson. When it is a movie, naturally, the attention is there. Right? So this is the nature of our mind. So when it comes to a neutral object, it's not easy to retain your attention, but that's the exact training we are doing. We prioritize this neutral object among other things. Even in daily life, that's what we do. You take your meals, go for a walk, or sit, work. Whatever you do, try to bring your attention to the activity at hand. Most of the time, it's a neutral one. Once in a while, we get interesting topics. There, the automatically attention comes. When you're engaged in interesting something, then your attention is there. When it is boring, you get distracted, right? So this way, while walking, while sitting, while doing daily activities, we try to prioritize the activity at hand. If it is seated, probably the breathing. If in the walking, the sensations at your feet. Taking a meal, that very activity. So we try to prioritize that. I don't think we can be 100% focused on anything. Let's say even the breathing, we can't stay with the breath forever. We can't stay with the steps for a long time. Naturally, we get distracted. That's the nature of the mind. So this very training is to return back to the original object time after time. You get distracted 101 times. Time after time, you return back to the breathing, back to the walking sensations. That's the very training that we are doing. So you can see when we do that, in a way, we know how to prioritize our attention. It's not like our attention is there 100% of the time, but we know we can give a certain attention. Some of the things come, they try to take our attention away. You get distracted, but you have the ability to return to the original object. That's the very idea. Even you work, you go to your workplace, there are other people. Sometimes they come and talk to you. Sometimes they ask questions. Sometimes emails come. Sometimes other thoughts appear in you. Right? So among all these things, you should be able to prioritize what you are doing. Otherwise, what happens is that you sit for hours, but nothing gets done at the end of the day. You realize you sat all day here at work, but still no productiveness. Right? So you see the importance of prioritizing the things. You know where to keep your attention. Other people come and talk to you, probably you answer them and return back to where you were doing. Again, some messages come, your phone distracts you, but still you know how to return back to the original object. Sometimes family matters, thoughts appear, but you know how to return to the original object. So this way, the very idea of this training is to prioritize. If you know mindfulness, you know your priorities. You know where you should keep your attention. If you don't know mindfulness, then probably you don't know your priorities. Your mind is distracted. The phones and these devices, they have become the greatest distractions in our lives. They are always ringing, vibrating, and take our attention away. So many notifications come. Some people even don't know how to mute them. Right? Every hour you get 20, 30 notifications. Then emails come, messages appear, WhatsApp. Right? So all those distractions are there in the world. The world, in a way, is distractions. They come time after time. If you don't know your priorities, then you are also distracted. The world is distracted, you too are distracted. Right? But if you know your priorities, among all these distractions, you know where to keep your attention, where to return your attention. That's the very idea of today's topic. And I'm sure you have seen it. The quote, it's from, I can't remember the owner. Yes, Winston Churchill. And that's the quote. You will never reach your destination if you stop and throw stones at every dog that barks. I think there's this same quote in Sinhala as well. So if you stop to throw stones at every dog that barks, you will never reach your destination. So you get the idea. In life, if we don't know our priorities, then you will never reach your destination. So many negative things are there. So many people try to distract us. Even at schools, sometimes the main problem is there are some children who will always distract others. They don't do any work. Their main job is to distract others. So if you sit next to such a friend, then probably it won't be so productive. So you can see these distractions, they are like barking dogs. Whatever the negative things that appear, like barking dogs. These notifications on your phone might be like barking dogs. Then all the news, this world news, was blowing things up, probably barking dogs, right? So you can see so many distractions are there. If we try to stop at every distraction, if you try to spend some time there, if you try to throw stones at them, then you will never reach your destination. That's sure, right? So this life, you have to make sure that you prioritize your things, especially when it comes to, let's say, the fault finding. Probably some people's negative attitudes. When it comes to these things, if you start paying attention to them, I don't think it will do very good for you. It won't do good for you, right? Because those negative influences are always there. And when you stop and pay attention to them, when you try to blame other people, when you try to see these negative things and try to solve them, your very journey will be hindered. Time after time that happens. Maybe due to encouraging these things, there's always fear in your mind. You worry about things. You think that something bad will happen to you. Time after time, you encourage those thoughts. And soon you realize you function with fear. Some people, they are fault finding. Whatever happens, they see some way to improve it. Whatever we do, they come and try to advise us. Such behaviors are there. In a way, it's funny to see how you can advise others about everything. They come and advise. So if you try to pay attention to these things, if you start finding fault with them, then it won't do good for you. I'm sure there are faults. I'm sure there are better ways to do these things. But that's not important. Whatever we do, we put our attention, do our best. That's what matters. Trying to do the job perfectly or trying to do without any mistakes. or trying to teach others how to do a perfect job. All those things are like barking dogs. You start your work, you do your best, and next day you can do a better job, right? It's not gonna over, it's not gonna be over tonight. Again, tomorrow you get another chance. Tomorrow you might get to do it again, right? So that way we can improve our efficiency. But trying to do a perfect job is a way to never do the project. We are always planning, thinking, trying to do the perfect job. But at the end of the day, you won't get nowhere, right? So that's what happens. Most people, they don't start. They wait for the perfect moment. They plan everything, right? But at the end of the day, they don't get the chance to do. So when you do something, it might not be perfect. That's fine. You simply start, you do your best. Next time you can do, of course, better. Even same goes for meditation. Some of the people, they think about this ideal day to meditate. There's this ideal location for them to go and meditate. They have to settle everything before they go, right? Do the responsibilities for their families, have enough saving accounts, then that day they will go and meditate. Or maybe some ideal place, a beautiful place without any distractions, right? So that way they wait for the perfect moment, perfect day, perfect location for them to meditate. Those people will never meditate, I'm sure. In this life, they won't do. Probably next time also they'll start planning, but then will end up not doing. Right? So if you want to meditate, you do it here and now. That's the very idea. If you say you'll meditate tomorrow, then it's a sign it will never happen. Even I remember one time we were doing a 5-day retreat. On the second day of the program, somebody was asking, Bante, can you give me an advice, meditation method for me to do at home? So this fellow is in a residential retreat, only second day out of 5, and he is asking advice to meditate at home. Right? So in a way, this person has decided this is not going to work for me. This retreat is not going to work for me. I'll go home and leisurely do the meditation. That's why they are asking advices for the home meditation. Right? That's how the people react. That's their attitude. If you want to meditate, you do it here and now. That's the very idea. If you think you will meditate in some unknown day, then it's not going to happen. Right? And there's this similar concept in Mahayana Buddhism as well. They say about this world without distractions. It's the ideal place for you to meditate. The name is Sukhavati. Right? Sukhavati. So after finishing all your worldly things, you reborn in this Sukhavati and you meditate and attain enlightenment. No distractions, nothing. You can directly go to the enlightenment with the shortest path. That's the very idea, right? So you can see, although it's funny, this is applicable for us as well. We are also doing the same thing in a different way. We say, today is not my day to meditate. But the very meditation is here and now. So you can see, you have to make correct priorities. You have to select correct priorities. You have to make sure that you are not paying attention to negative things too much. That's something I have learned during my work time. The company I worked, it was a family business. A lot of politics were there. So many politics, right? So we were in a certain section, so others, seniors, they have been there for like 20 years, right? So these newcomers, they always try to pull their legs. That's how they do, right? So if you try to pay attention to these things, then you will never get your work done. But fortunately, due to some cause, I don't know the reason, I was able to not pay attention to them. I was able to pay attention to my work, and the management was very happy with me because I was doing my work. So even the negative influences were there, even when the other people were trying to, pull my leg, I didn't get any obstacles from them because I paid my attention to the correct thing. That's the very idea. That's something I learned during the work time, and it's funny how it worked out. Because if I paid attention to those people, their politics, if I paid attention to all the troubles at that workplace, then you won't get anywhere, right? Same goes for our lives. Wherever we go, whatever we do, so many negative things are there. For example, let's say you might be in certain relationships, or you might have certain friends. These people might have negative tendencies, right? So if you try to give attention to those negative things time after time, what will happen is that you will be in the same cage with them. That's what happens to most people. Bad influence, right? Due to bad influence, they get stuck in that place. They go home every day, they face this bad influence. For hours, they spend time with this bad influence. And without them even knowing, they are stuck in the same place. Their thought pattern will also change according to that bad influence, right? Their happiness level will also reduce according to that bad influence, right? So these things are very common in this world. So whenever you spend time with somebody, you have to make sure that it's not a bad influence for you. You have to make sure that their negative attitude won't be influencing you, right? At least if you find some positive vibe kind of a people, then although you spend time with them, you feel happy. And there's no real bad influence from them. That's why probably most of the people would prefer the company of dogs or animals, right? No matter what happens, the dog is always happy, right? You gets late and dog is eagerly waiting for you to arrive home, right? Maybe wife, the opposite. More you get late, more angry she will become. But the dog is totally opposite way. More you are late, more excited the dog will be, right? So that's why maybe most people, they would prefer company of pets instead of people. Because they at least, they are happy, they are jumping here and there. They make your time worthwhile, right? So this is something important. You have to make sure that you are not having this negative influence in your life. Time to time, these things might come, but it shouldn't be a daily negative influence for hours on end. If that happens, it's not going to be easy for you. Maybe few years into such a relationship or such a friendship, that very negative attitude will come to you as well. So attention is precious. You have to make sure that you give attention to the proper things. It's like a meditation. Time after time, you prioritize the correct things. If you don't prioritize correct things, then that very negative influence will come to your life, or you will be attracted towards that negative influence, right? So that's what happens to most people. I remember one of these sessions we did for a rehabilitation center, drugs, and one of the lecturers or maybe an officer from that place, he was telling that, many people rehabilitate in this place, but the success rate is probably like 20%. So they spend so much time, they rehabilitate these drug addicts like heroin or ice, those type of drugs. They rehabilitate these people for 6 months or maybe even 1 year. Success rate is only 20%. And the reason that person said was bad influence. After the rehabilitation, they will go to the same environment. After the rehabilitation, they will go among the same friends. So the success rate is very low, right? So instead of allowing them to go to the same place, to among same people, they were trying to do some difference. They were trying to give some training in the rehabilitation period itself, and they were trying to get these people jobs. So you get a training, you get a job and go to a different environment, go to among different people. If that happens, then the success rate will increase probably to 60+%, right? So you can see what is the reason, the environment that we spend time with, right? So you have to make sure that you prioritize the correct things. You have to make sure that you give attention to the proper things. And this funny incident happened recently. Somebody called somebody else mentally ill, right? OCD, let's say OCD. Then this other person was dying, complaining that this person called me mentally ill, right? And he is obsessed over this incident now. He can't let go. He's time after time he's saying that bugger called me mentally ill. Everyone he meets, he tells this story, right? He is obsessed with that incident. So for a day, for a week, for a month, it will continue. So in a way, the accusation is correct, right? You are stuck in this thought process. You are stuck in this thought process, you can't get out of it. So in a way, the accusation is correct. That person can't get out of it, right? So you can see how the mind works. Let's say somebody can come and tell you that you are crazy, right? If you are really confident that you are sane, then you shouldn't be worrying about that now, right? That's the proper way. If you know that you are sane, then you don't need guarantees from other people. If you are unsure, then of course, when somebody else blame you, you will definitely hang up on that incident, right? So you should know that you are sane. If you are sane, then it won't be a problem. So you can see so many barking dogs are there in this world. If you start throwing stones at them, every dog, then you won't get to your destination. I'm sure this training or this very idea, it will be more applicable to your daily life. Whatever you do, whoever you work with, right? You have to make sure that you know your priorities. You can have fun. You can enjoy the company of other people. You can go to the nature and spend some quality time. That's not a problem. But you have to make sure that you give your attention to the proper things. Your attention is precious. If you give your attention to the proper things, then the evil or the bad things will simply disappear. That's what I have experienced during my work period. Bad influences, bad things were there. But they simply disappeared because I didn't give them any attention. Maybe due to some luck. It wasn't intentional, I'm sure, but somehow it happened. Right? That wise monkeys, that's the very idea. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. And eventually, whatever evil will disappear because you are not seeing it, you are not hearing it, you are not speaking it. Right? So that's the way. I'm sure you get the idea. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Bhante. We will move on to the last item in the agenda, which is the reports that's sent by you to present to Bhante, as well as any questions if we have time towards the end. To start this session, I now invite Tamari.
Thank you, Sonali. Can you hear me well? Because last time I think there was a problem with the speaker.
We can hear you, but if you could increase a little bit.
Okay, so let me try again. How about now? Is it better now?
I think it's very similar, but we can hear you, though. We can hear you.
I'm going to try one more thing on my laptop. Let's see. Yeah, I remember this happened last time, and oh, it is full. Okay. So
well, we can hear you. If you carry on, that's fine. If everyone could increase the volume on their laptops,
yeah.
it would be.
I'm really sorry about this.
This is fine. Oh, it sounds better now.
It's better now. So I actually changed something on my laptop. Okay. All right. Are you going to drop the instructions? So to start the Q&A session, I'll go through the instructions for anybody who is new, who may be listening to this recording later on. There are two little videos provided, short videos provided by Nissarana Vanaya about mindful walking and mindful sitting, and anyone starting the practice, just allocating maybe 5 minutes at the beginning of each, walking and sitting, and maybe increase it over the days and weeks into about half an hour, and then up to about 1 hour each, which means 2 hours in total. And then at any point, I guess, you can write down your experience as a reflection report, because you would get valuable feedback from Bhante about how to progress. And this might be as a question or a statement. You can also write your actual experience of both under the titles Mindful Walking and Mindful Sitting, and describe what you felt while walking and sitting, what you recognized as your walking and sitting posture through mindfulness. Any prominent sensations while walking, such as the texture of the ground, pressure points of the soles, how the body weight shifted from one leg to another, all of these things, or actually what your experience was. I think that's the most important. For sitting, again, some of the things that we notice are pressure points, incoming and outgoing breath at nostrils, and raising of the abdomen, etc. So when you're sending the report, there are two ways of sending it. It's either via Google form. I think Sonali will drop it in the chat. And yeah, use that link to send a Google form of your experience or email it to us via the email address beginnersenvy@gmail.com. And then we will present your reports to Bhante in the session, and then so he can provide valuable guidance in continuing your practice. Anyone wanting to listen to the previous sessions, they can actually click on the link provided. I think, is it in the chat now? Yeah. Sonali will put the recording of all sessions are from this link. You can pick it up and listen to the previous ones as well. So today we have so far received one report, which I will read out now. It is by an adult. It goes, Venerable Swamin Wahanse, mindful walking, duration 45 minutes, place compound, main object sensations under feet. I walked freely 5 times and afterwards noted soles as left and right. Did a body scan at the edge. Sun heated my body. I could feel the roughness and the hardness of the floor. I could observe 6 footsteps in a lamp. One moment I realized that I was in thoughts and that I was not mindful. But I was glad that I could understand that before it was too long. Again, I observed footsteps, heard birds singing. Now I can understand the times that I'm not mindful. Mindful sitting, duration 45 minutes, place, room, on cushion, main object, abdominal movements. When I sat down, I firstly observed my posture. Then my mind was grabbed by various noises in the background. I listened to them. Then when I tried to focus my attention on belly movements, it was impossible. A severe pain on my head grabbed my attention. As it was overwhelming, I started to observe it. Actually, I was very much afraid to do so in case it might increase. I have past experiences where I was totally in pain after observing the headache for only 3 minutes. But this time there was no option. So I noticed that the headache was like a cloth wrapped tightly around my head. But I took a closer look despite of the pain, and at one place a tiny pain arose and disappeared. At another place it was like cutting. At another place it was like throbbing. But when I was observing a particular place, I didn't feel the pain surrounding. At another place it was like pushing. At another place it was like digging. Gradually the pain reduced. Then a vibration closer to my right ear became conspicuous. But I tried to observe the belly movements. It was not easy. Utum Swamin Wahanse, out of these 3, number 1, pain in head, number 2, vibration near ear, number 3, belly movements, what can be the most appropriate objective to choose for the time being? Theruwan Saranai Utum Swamin Wahanse. That's the end of the report, Bhante.
Okay, right. Now, the first thing is that, as you mentioned, now you can understand the times that you are unmindful. That's great wisdom or great insight into the practice. Earlier, we didn't know. We were unmindful and we didn't know. Now at least you understand the moments that you're unmindful. Right? So that's the way. That's what I said earlier as well. When you start mindfulness, the first encounter is with unmindfulness. You realize how unmindful you are. Right? And it's a great insight into your mind. Most people don't like to agree. They don't accept. But when you know the practice, you realize that's the very first insight. How unmindful I am. Right? So that's good thing. Then the second one is you mentioned observing pain. So it's good that you summon the courage to observe the pain today. You have seen it, how this pain varies, how it is changing. So all these things are good, valid observations in the practice, especially when it comes to things like pain. Usually the practitioners, they don't like to experience it. They don't like that part of the practice. But you have to understand pain, mindfulness of pain. That too is a part of the very same practice. We are not trying to go search for the pain. If you try to do that, then that's a pain-seeking behavior. But what we do is, we try to, whenever the pain comes, we try to welcome it. We try to be mindful. That's the very idea. And if you do that, let's say in a sitting session especially, the pain comes and somehow you are able to observe it. Sometimes things like headaches come, and although it's a severe pain, you are able to observe it. That very observation will help you to get rid of the fear of pain. Usually we are fearful. That's what happens when you met with an accident or even a snake bite. The pain that drives you, the fear that drives you, right? So accidents get worse due to the fear. You die from a non-venomous snake bite due to the fear, right? So these things are real. Snake is not venomous, but due to the fear you die. Accident, something happened, but due to the fear you made it worse, right? But these incidents, if you know mindfulness of pain, then you can simply notice how it feels. The pain is not solid, as per the information in your observation as well, right? The pain is not solid. It's appearing, disappearing, running through the parts of your body. Maybe one moment it is paining, next moment it is 100% released, right? So this is how the pain appears. So it's good that you are able to observe it mindfully. And something important that you mentioned, one of the observations earlier, if you observe the pain and if you get up halfway, if you give up halfway, what happens is that you run with this pain maybe for a few hours even. Right? So when the pain comes, whatever that comes in a sitting session, try to finish it in the sitting session itself. Don't try to take it to the next posture. Right? Even Buddha says when something comes in a certain posture, finish it in itself. Don't try to take it to the other posture. If something comes in the sitting session, finish it there itself. Don't take it to the walking session. If something comes in the walking session, wait till it finishes. That's the very idea. So it's applicable for pain. It's applicable for like dreamy kind of thoughts that comes like bullets, right? It's applicable for other things that you experience in the walking or the sitting sessions. Whatever comes, wait till it is finished. Otherwise, you go with the remaining part of it. And it will continue even for few hours. Right? That's the very idea. That's the very idea. A demon comes and you start running. You run with the demon. Right? That's what happens. So it's true that your observation is true. When you give up halfway, you will continue with that pain for maybe even few hours. Sometimes in the sitting sessions, the mind kind of like, you loses the control of your mind. It goes into some kind of like a dreamy state, like lucid dreaming kind of a state. And if you wait long enough, you will see after 20-30 minutes, you come to the usual way, right? That phase ends. But if you get up halfway, then maybe even for few hours, you will have that some difficult to, work, difficult to do anything, some kind of a like uneasiness in your mind, right? So whatever that comes in a sitting session, try to finish it in the sitting session itself. I'm sure it's not easy. Bearing the pain is not easy. Those different states, like lucid dreaming kind of states, it's not easy to wait till it finishes. But if you stop halfway, if you give up halfway, what happens is that you run with that very demon. You run, but you are running with that demon, right? So that's the very idea. So try to stay till it finishes. Although it's difficult, although it's hard to bear, it's much easier if you finish it in this very posture itself. Then finally, you are asking about what object to prioritize. 3 objects you mentioned. The answer would be depends. If I say prioritize this object, then you will be a failure when other objects come. No, the answer, it depends. You start prioritizing your stomach, belly movements. Then the pain comes, pain becomes severe. Automatically the attention shifts. What can you do? Right? So don't ask such questions. You decide which one to prioritize depending on the moment. If I say prioritize this, then you'll be a failure when other things come. That's not the practice. Mindfulness of pain too is part of the practice. Mindfulness of breath too is a part of the practice. Mindfulness of thought formations too is a part of the practice. So you have to decide according to the current situation, where should I have my attention?
Thank you, Bhante, for that valuable feedback. And we do have about 10 minutes left in the session. So anybody wanting to ask a question or have a comment to make, please raise your Zoom hand and then we'll let you ask or present. Yeah. Bandula, can you unmute and ask your question?
Thank you. Avasara Bhante, just a quick question. This is my sitting posture. Bhante, when I sit, I couldn't focus exactly on my breath. Actually, it's almost disappeared. So I know there is a very subtle breath there, but I couldn't see as it is before. So I pay even the in breath, out breath. Just look at it; it's very same. There's no difference. It's even after a few minutes, I felt yawning, feel of like a lethargic. Um, so sometimes I felt sleepy as well. So I'd like some advice from you, Bhante. So in that situation, I can maintain any. So because there's no object, is there a thing to do, or simply stay as it is uh, without noticing anything? Thank you.
First, maybe I'll ask a question. When the breath disappears, is it a good sign or a bad sign?
Um, I think if we are looking back, the practice, it's a good sign. I heard it's good sign, but while sitting, it's like I'm looking for something to hold it. So that's the difficulty.
Yeah, so you know that it's something good. Way the breath
Yes.
disappears, you can't notice the difference. That disappears. So you already know it's a good sign. Now, how to survive is the question. How to survive the next round, right? When the breath disappears, it's like the first round ends, then the second round starts. Now your question is how to survive the second round. So that skill you yourself has to develop, right? Otherwise, if you say that I can't do this, I want to go to the first round, then you can stay there playing the very same round time after time without going into the second round, right? So it's a skill, it's a difficult skill, but you realize how to be mindful without an object. That ability you can develop with time. Earlier, you were mindful holding on to this breath or the object. Now, you develop the art of becoming mindful without holding on to object. And when you do that, when that happens, usually many distractions come. Past thoughts, memories, certain incidents, all these things start flooding your mind. So among them, it's difficult to maintain this balance. But that's the very challenge that you have to go through. That's the very skill that you have to develop. Transi.
Bhante, it's I don't get that many thoughts even. Mainly, I have I had that the lethargic, drowsy feeling, and I fell to sleep. So that's the reason I asked the question. So you think I had to overcome that sleepiness as well?
Yeah, I'll ask another question. Lethargic nature, is it a good thing or a bad thing? In the practice, is it considered a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's bad because once you feel sleepy, it's gone. Like the session's gone.
No, that answer is wrong. Earlier one was correct, but this answer is wrong, right? This is not sleepiness that comes for a beginner. When you practice, when the object disappears, naturally next thing to come is the sleepiness, drowsiness. It feels like some kind of a like lucid kind of a dreaming kind of a state, right? So that's a good sign. That's a sign that you have overcome this world, this outside world a little. If you are interested in that world, then you'll be energetic. You'll have a lot of attention. But when that world disappears, naturally what comes is this lethargic nature. And some people, they go drink a coffee and come back, sit again. Right? Some people, they go wash their faces and come. Those things can't prevent this. If you want to do the practice, you have to develop the ability to withstand that phase as well. So when the object disappears, the world becomes some kind of like colorless. It becomes boring. It becomes lethargic. So those are good signs that the practice is working. Only bottleneck is you thinking. Right? Next time, whatever happens, just simply go through, and that would be the best meditation. Lethargic nature comes, simply stay. Simply go through that phase. Breath disappears, simply stay. Go through that phase. That's the very way of meditation. You thinking, you analyzing is the main obstacle.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bhante. And thanks, Bandula, for asking that question. We've got maybe another couple of minutes left. If anyone's got a last minute question to ask, please raise your Zoom hand. Okay, there aren't any, but I've got a last minute thing I would like to ask from Bhante. Just a quick one. So, coming from Bandula's question, it's I seem to be just watching, and I go through these phases as well in my sitting, and I'm wondering whether I need to develop something there, because I just seem to be noticing anything that comes. Okay, the sleepiness, the thoughts come and they go. Sometimes they are pictures, sometimes they're parts of pictures, sometimes words, sometimes just everything that the mind can bring. But there seems to be a part that's just watching. Sometimes I get into the things that are coming, the objects, but I'm just wondering, should I continue with that watching or come back to the object? I mean, I can. It feels like then I'm doing something rather than being. So I just want a bit of clarification there, Bhante.
No, your way is fine. Just continue with that observation. That's enough. If you try to do something, and then that's the very obstacle in such a state. Simply go with the flow.
Okay.
Whatever different phases that appear, just simply go with the flow. Sometimes thoughts become prominent, all these thoughts, chain thoughts, train thoughts come. Simply go with that path. Then lethargic nature appears. Simply go with that path. Then again, the mind becomes normal and the breath is prominent. Simply go with that path, right? So whatever that appears, simply going with the flow is the way. Now you don't have to worry or, doubt whether the practice is correct, right? Simply just go with the flow, and that would be your very practice.
Thank you very much, Bhante. I think I guessed as much, but I wasn't sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
That's
And we've
very
just
idea
gone.
of these sessions.
Sorry.
That's the very idea of these sessions. Although we know this is the way, sometimes we are doubtful.
Yeah.
So it's good to discuss and continue.
Thank you. So we've gone over the time a tiny bit, and Sonali, I'll hand the session back to you.
Thank you. So thank you to everyone who's asked questions or sent us reports. So we can actively participate, and we all learn from your questions and reports as well. So thank you. So on behalf of the organizers, I'd like to thank Venerable Homagama Dhamma Kusala Thero for his continued guidance on this program. And of course, not forgetting the Chief Abbot of Nissarana, Vanaya, Venerable Uderiya Dhammajiva Mahathero, whose idea was to initiate this program. So may this merit help them to improve their own practice as well. Thank you to all the organizers who are working behind the scene, working really hard to keep this program coming to you every week, and to everyone who's participating actively via Zoom or anyone who may be watching later as well. And of course, not forgetting Facebook live stream as well. So as usual, we will meet every week 1 p.m. in Sri Lankan time. And I hope today's program was beneficial for everyone, and hope everyone will have a happy and mindful week ahead. I will now end the session for everyone.